Welcome back. We have already created a currency exchange service. What does it do? When I call currency exchange from EUR to INR, it returns me what is the conversion multiple. The currency exchange tells what is the current currency exchange value when I convert from EUR to INR. What we want to do is we want to create the currency calculation service. What we want to create right now is a very simple version of the currency calculation service. This currency calculation service can have a lot of functionality related converting a bucket of currencies into a single currency. What we'll do is we will create a simple service. So we'll call this currency converter and it would accept from to. So it will accept, okay, I would want to convert from USD to INR and it will also accept how many. It's called quantity. So I would want to convert 1000 USD to INR. What it does is it does not know what is the exchange value for a USD to INR. It will call the currency exchange service. So the currency calculation service would call the currency exchange service and it asks, okay, tell me how much a USD is worth in INR. It will get 65 back or 65 or whatever the value at that point is back, and it would use the amount 1000 and multiply 1000 by the exchange value 1000 into 65, which is 65,000, and return that back as the response. What we are creating is the basic version of the currency converter service. Let's get started now. As usual, we'll need to create a controller. So I'll create a new class. I'll call this currency conversion controller. This should be a REST controller. So at REST controller, we would want to create a method, a get method, a get mapping, and have the URL down here. This is very similar to what we did with the currency exchange service. So I would want to call this currency converter and from to INR to 2, and this is the quantity, and let's call this public. I would need to return a bean back. I'll call this currency conversion bean and we'll create the bean very soon. I'll name the method as convert currency, and we need to define a few path variables in here, right? So path variable string from, and the other ones which we would need are path variable string 2, and also we need another path variable. This would be a big decimal and I'll call this quantity. And for now, let's return a hard-coded stuff back. Let's organize the inputs. Everything except for the currency conversion bean should be automatically resolved. I'll create a new currency conversion bean. So create class currency conversion bean. Let's go ahead and do that. Finish. In the currency conversion bean, I would want ID, private long ID, and I'll also want a private string from which currency, private string to which currency, private string. What is the conversion value that we got? So it's conversion multiple. When I call the currency exchange, I would get this currency multiple. Let's also return that back, and I would also put in the requested quantity. Actually, these two should be big decimal, big decimal for quantity as well. And the last one is the calculated amount, or you can also call this total amount, total calculated amount. And we'll also return the port back. So what we are basically adding in is all the values which we are getting back from the currency exchange service, ID, from, to, conversion multiple, and port. In addition to them, we have a quantity and a total calculated amount. That's basically it. It's a lot of variables that we are adding in here. I'll go ahead and generate a simple constructor using fields, and I'll also go ahead and add in a getter and setter. Let's organize the inputs as well. And also this will be used by Jackson. We would need a default constructor, a no argument constructor. So let's provide that as well. So basically what we are doing in here is creating a simple bean with a lot of variables. It looks complex because there are a lot of variables in here, but If you really look at it objectively, there is nothing complex in here. So now I can create a new dummy bean and return it back. New currency conversion bean. Let's pass in the values parameters that would be needed. I'll hard code it as 1L, the ID. The second argument is, let's look at the currency conversion bean. The second argument is from. So I'll pass in the from which we got in here. So from to, and the next one is conversion multiple and quantity. So quantity we have, the conversion multiple. I'll just send some value out. I'll just say 65, or for now let's hard code it. What's the big deal? So big decimal dot 1, let's say that's the currency multiple, and quantity, total calculated amount, I'll say is quantity itself. We'll fix that very soon. And the port, I'll hard code it for now to 0. So we are hard coding a currency conversion bean and returning it back. If you restart the application now and go to this URI currency converter, make sure that you are using localhost 8100. That's the port we have configured. Currency converter from USD to INR, quantity 1000. Refresh and you would see these values back. So the USD, INR and 1000 are being picked up from the path variables inside our URI. The other ones are hard coded. What we'll do in the next step is, from the currency conversion service, we will call the currency exchange service. We will determine what is the conversion multiple, and we will use that to determine the total calculated amount. We will also use the port which comes back in the response. Until the next step, bye bye.